Let's get right to it. So, what I'm holding in my hand is a copy of the Somerville Scout, and right at the top of it, finding space for artists. The exact thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create an artist live workspace here in Somerville, and it is a pain in the ass. I'm going to thumb into some of these things. It talks a little bit about the actual buildings. It's really, by the way, if you don't know the Somerville Scout, my good friend Holly is the editor. Um, she's a really cool person, and she come to some of my events, and I see her all over the town. So she's one of the people that puts it together. They also do the Cambridge Scout if you live in Cambridge. So this is kind of a very regional to the Somerville, Cambridge area, but it's a magazine for us, by us. And oh, this is one of my favorite. I got to show this one off. Urban urban axes. Okay, I've been throwing axes for like years. I was been throwing axes before hipsters did it. I was doing it before it was cool, and I have the proof because I own the whole setup, the axe throwing booth, and all that stuff. Um, it's kind of cool. They talk about the new Union Square and how there's a new brewery, which is always to me a good thing. Now, I've got very good friends that run the breweries like America Fresh and Aeronaut. These are people that I know very well. I've even met the folks at Winter Hill. So there's room for another one because, my God, people in this town drink so much beer. Now, as we get here, we have portraits of artists, and then we move into the new artist spaces that are coming up in Union Square, and eventually we get for here we go, finding room for art with the giant face there, talking about Artisans Asylum, Washington Street. Artisans Asylum is a great place. I've done a lot of work out of Artisans Asylum. I've hired people out of Artisans Asylum. I've had meetings at Artisans Asylum. I've held events at Artisans Asylum. And it's one of the best resources in the town for people that want to make stuff. Vernon Street Studios, right across the street from me, lots of artists there. And again, it was in a foam factory. I don't know if they actually make foam across the street over there, but they definitely sell foam because I've gone there and picked it up for some companies I know that make dance floors, and they of course need foam. And so we have Brick Bottom. Brick Bottom is near the art farm where I did my Halloween show. We got this nice person hula hooping. But then I come to stay. This is like an article about me. It has nothing to do with me staying put. I don't know if we can read this. It's a little washed out in this light. Planning thoughtful renovations in Somerville. Yeah, they actually have an article talking about this. And there's even down here, I don't know if we can see it. It's probably washed out a bit. I probably should have made the white balance on this better, but it says zoning and permitting. I'm going to read this to you because it's really pertinent right now to the studio. Somerville residents should keep the permitting process in mind when considering the timeline of a renovation. Architects advise, even if what you're doing seems reasonable and minor, you'll be asked to apply for a zoning variance. Under the current zoning regulations, the vast majority of renovation projects require permission in the form of variance from the city. It's rare to have a project that doesn't need a special permit or zoning variance, says Maxwell. Generally, it's 3 to 6 month process to get a zoning variance. That really sets your project back a chunk. And then they're going to vote on this whole thing. The time and cost. Don't get fooled by reality TV. The continuing popularity of design TV shows where homes are seemingly transformed over the course of a weekend has fostered unrealistic expectations, says Mark Maxwell. Do-it-yourself shows are not our friend. They make renovating look impossible, impossibly simple, inexpensive, and quick. So we've been on this a year and a half with this project, with this, and Somerville's got this massive bureaucracy that's really difficult to overcome. And so it's looking at these renovations and art spaces and how so many places are losing art spaces, and that it may come down to a point where it's just more and more difficult for arts, art and artists to stay in the city because it's just difficult to do this anymore, and it's getting more and more expensive. It's enormously expensive to do what we're doing, and I think, I'm starting to wonder, was this worth it? We started this project 2.5 years ago. I should have just bought a house, moved into it, and then be done. Instead, I decided to take an old abandoned liquor store and try to convert it into living space, and it's been nuts. We've been trying for 3 months with the Department of Public Works to get a build permit. More and more obstacles keep coming up. Some, unforeseen, and some just, out of the sheer lethargy that every bureaucracy has. And this magazine comes out, and I'm like, wow, okay, so they're talking about the topic. Like, I'm not the only one. This keeps happening. People keep trying to do bigger projects here, and they're stymied by everything going on, and these renovations are going to take forever. Um, I don't know what else to say other than the fact that it's been extremely frustrating, and I constantly question whether or not I made a really good choice. Um, but I like to think that someday I'm going to be proud of this project, and that it's going to look really cool, and it's going to be something that we can all be proud of. Whew. But for now, man, we're sitting in limbo, and it sucks. So, like and subscribe. Uh, we've got lots of new subscribers, so thank you for that. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.